Okay, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to the webinar this morning. Those of you who came to the last one, appreciate you coming back, and for those of you new, welcome. This is hopefully something we're going to be doing reasonably regularly, probably every fortnight, so keep tuned, keep an eye on your inbox. You should be getting some more information about the coming webinars. So just to introduce myself again, for those that don't know me, my name is Matt Osmond. I'm a BIM consultant at Rapid 5D. Rapid 5D are experienced BIM and VDC consultants in the construction industry. We've been working for a few years now with a number of different clients. We use the latest technologies from Trimble to maximize our BIM working. So we use things such as Vico Office, which I'm going to go through today, as well as Prolog and Trimble Connect. And we offer advice and guidance to companies who are looking to take those first steps into BIM, or companies that are already down their path and just need a bit of a hand and direction. So the agenda for today's webinar is, first of all, we're going to use the target cost function within Vico Office to define a set of costs from perhaps a schedule of a pricing schedule from either a client or from a benchmarked cost planning area. Then we're going to create a resource-based cost plan from a 3D model using a reference library. Then after that, we're going to validate that estimate against the target cost. So we're going to be able to compare it at a granular level against the target cost which we'd set up before. Then we're going to go through the scenario of getting a new model, reactivating the model, and looking at how the estimates change based on the new quantities in the model. And then finally, I'm going to run back through that whole process and repeat it with 2D drawings as well, just to show you that you don't always need 3D to get involved in this process. So again today, same as last week, we're going to be using Vico Office, and the benefits of Vico Office are we can do a lot of 3D visualization, we've got clash detection, we've got the 3D and 2D takeoff, which we're going to go through today, we've got the 4D scheduling, of which the processes I'm going to go through today will impact, but we're not really going to go into it, and then also the 5D estimating, which is what we're going to focus on today as well. So let me just load up Vico. Start here inside the project area and load up this project. Go to my estimate. So this is the benchmark cost plan that I said I brought in earlier, and I'm going to use this as my target cost. So this could have been given from the client, it could have been agreed, and I go down to around, if I go down to my superstructure, just show you under the concrete floors, we've just got sort of light quantities and some light rates in, just to show that we've got a total cost of 17.5 million for this project. So that's our outlay cost. I'm going to save a snapshot of this, and for those of you familiar with Vico, you'll know what this is. Basically, this will allow me to set my target cost and at any point run reports that benchmark against this cost. So now we'll go into setting the target cost from that snapshot. So it's just in define targets. Those of you who've used Vico a lot, you might not have used this function, so it's useful to see it. And we just pick up that snapshot that I created earlier and set it as the target cost. And then over there we can see that 17.5 million that was in the cost plan before is now sat as my target cost for this whole project. So now if I jump through to my model register, I've got two models in here. I've got a Tekla structural model and a Revit architectural model. And if I just go through, what I'm going to do first is activate these. Always check the activation options first to check you're happy with them. And what the activation process is going to do is take off this set of models for me. So it's going to do the Vico automated takeoff, and I'm going to end up with a list of elemental quantities. So it just takes a little while for that process to go through. And then the end result, if I go to takeoff model, is a list of takeoff items. So everything in the project, and if I just zip to the 3D model, I can see that there, and change my running mode on to isolate there. And now I can click through this list and see what Vico's taken off. And so it's gone through and it's measured everything in this model. So there's the curtain walling. And if I open up the partition wall, you can see the detail which we've taken off. So I've got my length, 202 meters. I've got the side surface area, which you can see highlighted there, and the opposite side surface area. And I've got things like the volume. I've also got openings, if I were to have any openings on there. I can interrogate any one of these elements individually using the properties pane and see the length, side surface area, volume of an individual element. So now I've got my takeoff, I'm going to take that cost plan that I had before and I'm going to develop it a bit more. For the sake of this webinar, I'm going to use a project library. So I just need to go to Project and References. And inside this library, I've priced a lot of elements that I commonly use. Let's say I use the same consultant each time and they use the same metadata for their 3D model each time. So for instance, inside my lowest floor construction here, I've got several different types of ground floor slab that I could be using on this project, and it's got the relevant method breakdown and resource breakdown. So this is a quick way to do this based on a lot of work has gone into this template, but depending on where you are in your BIM journey, you'll have a different level and you might have to do a bit more of this manually, but then as you build up in a few years' time, you'll have more and more of this information. So I've dropped that into my cost plan now, and if I expand my cost plan, actually if I go to Takeoff, I'll show you how that linked through to that Takeoff that we had before. And so if we have a look at that partition wall that we'd already looked at in detail, I can expand out my cost plan, go find that internal wall, fix partitions, and if I expand that down, you can see the reference side surface area has connected with the partitions in the cost plan. So those are all linked together now dynamically. So I can see that my total cost is 13.8 million at the minute, and if I just scroll down and activate my target cost column and bring that further over, so that's that cost that I'd set up before down to about 4 levels of the NRM1 structure, and now I can compare, okay, my superstructure was 10 million or my substructure was 1.8 million, and in my target cost it was 1.7. And I can see for the various different elements where the prices increased and decreased using those little arrows that come in. So that's one of the benefits of setting the target cost. And then it's all well and good looking at it in a kind of Excel or database type structure, but what if we had a more visual way of interrogating this data? So if I go cost to target, I'm in Cost Explorer now. Some of you may have used this, some of you might not have. It's a very useful function, especially when you're in front of stakeholders. You can very quickly demonstrate. So what I'm looking at here is seeing 79% of the cost of the target is in the current cost plan. And then I can drill down and see, okay, so the fixtures and fittings is 106%, the substructure is 103%, of which the specialist foundation, so the piles, is 113%, so I know I've gone up for the piles. So it's just a quick way of interrogating that data, and I could also change that coloring. So if I do have a paint game mechanism in my contract, I can adapt the colors to suit, so I can make it very clear where I am and aren't in paint. So the next thing we're going to do is go take a snapshot of the cost plan as it is now, because what I'm going to do is activate a new version of the model and then refer back to this cost plan. So we've done that. Now if we go to our model register, we could see earlier, some of you might have seen that there was 2 revisions of that architectural model, and we only activated the first one. So I'm just going to come in and activate the second one. And this would be the same as if you're further down a project, you've got a stage 3 or 4 design, or perhaps your architect's just made a few changes, then this is the point we'd be at the minute. So just activating that model, and again, that's re-evaluating all of the quantities in the model, remeasuring everything, and updating that takeoff list. So if I go back to my takeoff now, I can see it's going to be very hard for me to go through this list and try and figure out what's changed in those 2 models. The same way it would be in a drawing. If I got a new set of drawings, how would I tell what's different? And how would I quantify that as quickly as possible? So what we can do is go back to our estimate and see that this has now been updated with those new quantities. And if I drill down into the relevant sections, I'll just expand out the whole cost plan. I can see, okay, so there's my specialist foundations. They've changed a little bit in price. And I can start to integrate. But again, it's still not the easiest way to see where my quantities have affected my cost. So what I do have is a report, which is included within Vico. And it's a cost variance report. And I have to pick 2 different versions of the project. So I'm going to pick my original cost plan, and I'm going to pick the current, or just switch those around a bit. Oh, no, I'm going to pick the current one as well. And I want to go down to a reasonably deep level of detail on this cost plan. And I can see, first of all, I get a graph that shows the difference between the 2 cost plans, and it's probably going to be easier if I actually export this to PDF. I could export it to Excel as well. So just save that. So export as a PDF. First of all, you can see the differences in the graph, but if I drill down into the cost plan, I can keep filling down and see, okay, there's some internal walls, that masonry wall. It's changed from 973 meters squared in the original revision to 1,240, which is a total impact of £29,000 increase in project cost, which is why it's highlighted red. I just go through that cost plan and I can just see all the areas where I've got to change. So again, we're not saying that that does cost £29,000, but what we're saying is it might cost. Vico has assessed it at that, and so we can have a look. So now I'm just creating a folder because I'm going to do the same thing again with drawings. And a few of you last week asked how to get the drawings in. So because we've recorded this, for anyone wanting to import drawings, you can go back and re-watch this and slow it down just so you can see how I'm doing it. But I just select a folder which has got a set of drawings in. For this, I don't really want those structural drawings, so I'll just, sorry, I don't want the architectural drawings, so I'll just tick those. And we'll just wait for those to come in. First things first, again, I try to reiterate this as often as possible. Always set a scale for your drawing before you do anything, because otherwise you'll end up measuring a drawing at the wrong scale. So I already know that the width of this building is 95 meters, so I'm just going to grab this point, come across and grab that one, and then just tell Vico that's 95 meters. And then that'll inform the takeoff. So, same as last week, we go to the takeoff pad. It's worth reiterating because I think this is a really good feature that not enough people use, this 2D takeoff. A lot of people think we're only about 3D. So I load up my drawing, scroll down to the bottom, and inside that takeoff list, which is all automatically generated, I'm just going to make a new item. So I'm going to call this 300mm slab. And then I'm just going to use the slab template in Vico, just to save a bit of time. So first of all, most obvious thing to do, we'll take the top surface area. So same as before, I just pick those snap points. Again, I'm going to be rough this time because we're in a bit of a rush. but you can be as detailed as you like. And then perimeters I can just grab from that same shape. And then because of the template, I've already automatically calculated, actually I'll just copy and paste the top surface area to the bottom surface area. So I don't have to remeasure it, I can just use that same quantity again. Then things like my volume and my edge surface area, I've already calculated because I've got an intelligent formula in there. And the depths that you go to with these takeoff pads is entirely up to you, and we can help you basically try and automate as much as possible. So for the gross volume, I'll just use the net volume again. And then we can go back to my takeoff, and I can scroll down that list, and at the bottom of that list there's that slab that I've just taken off, so it's completely integrated with the 3D. And I can open up my cost plan and pick a relevant area of the substructure, so say the lowest floor construction in this instance, and I'm just going to map quantities. So before with my 3D model I made it pick them up automatically, but in this instance I'm going to drag them across manually. So I'm going to take that top surface area, I'm going to put that in there, take the edge surface area, put that for my formwork, volume for reinforcement, and then we've got that consumption in there, so it's automatically converting that to tonnage. Volume obviously for concrete, and then we'll take the bottom surface area for our waterproof membrane. And we use the edge surface area as well. So now I've got all the quantities, they're all dynamically linked, and we're going to demonstrate why that's important in a bit. And again, create a snapshot. So we want to be able to refer back to this later. So I'll just call this drawing revision 1. And now, if I go back to my takeoff, I'll make a few changes to that shape. So I'll load up the drawing again. There's that shape, and I can go in there and deduct. So let's say we'll deduct the area for the stairs. So we'll just grab those points, and you'll see as I complete this shape that net top surface area is going to drop. So it's gone from 4,900 to around 4,600, and I'll just create one more hole as well. And then one more hole. So that's updated that top surface area, and then I just want to copy and paste that back into the bottom surface area just to replicate that. And we can see all those quantities have been updated as well. So now if I go and run a report again, I can pick that same report I picked before, but this time I'm going to do detail level 7 again, and I'm going to pick the drawing revision document and the current revision of my cost plan. And now we can see straight away that concrete mass foundations has gone down, and reinforcement's gone down, and waterproof membrane's gone down, which is to be expected because I've reduced the size of my slab. And then if I scroll through, we can see the relevant area in the cost plan where we've had a quantity change. So we're really looking at how dynamically linking our quantities to a takeoff can benefit us in the long term. So the reasons why this is useful is because if we find out we've had an error in our takeoff, we can go back and amend it. If we have new designs, we can automatically update our cost plan and see the impact of those new designs straight away. So if we're looking at valuing change, if we're getting a variation order, we can go to the client and say, here was the change, here is a report that shows where the quantities changed and how that's impacted my cost. Obviously, we're fully aware that you may have to go in and still tweak it further based on this new information. But basically, that was it. So we set up a target cost from a pricing schedule. We created a resource-based cost plan. Then we validated our estimate twice after we'd done the 2D. We could do that against the target cost. We've updated quantities from a new model, and we've repeated the process with some 2D drawings. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. I will have a look. Okay, so first one's come in. Someone spotted that I used an NRM1 structure in my cost plan there and asked if they have to use an NRM1 cost plan. You don't. You can use any structure you like, really. We can use, we've worked with customers who've used SMM7 and even SESM or RMM. And the reason we use NRM1 is because it's most suited to the BIM way of working, and we can really gain benefits in the long term for benchmarking our pricing data. So that's why we use it, but we have it's completely possible to use any structure you like. The report template, where was the report template from? So it's actually one of the report templates that's included inside Vico. So anyone who's got Vico, got it installed, you'll get that cost variance template in there. We have a Rapid 5D, a suite of report templates that we offer that also have further things, because the reporting engine inside Vico really allows you to take any data and adapt it and pivot it and connect it up and accumulate it. And we have those to offer. Alternatively, if you're inclined, you can go into the report writing editor and edit any of those standard reports to better suit your business. So let's say the standard report takes the net total, but you're actually more concerned with the gross total. It's a very easy tweak to the report to get that to work. Yeah, someone else has asked, how did I generate my pricing library? Okay, so the one that I used in this project was a reasonably simple one that was adapted specifically for this project. But those pricing libraries can come from anywhere. Those of you who've been working with other estimating systems for a long period of time, we can take pretty much a dump from those databases, be it in Excel, be it in another estimating system, and we can put those into Vico for you, which is how I started with this project. Alternatively, we can build them up from scratch. So every time you do a new project, at the end of the project, you integrate that costing data back into your standard costing library, and then you can reuse it on future projects. So really, over time, you're just building that momentum and speed with your estimating. Okay, well, there's no more questions, I think. So unless anyone's got any last-minute questions, this video will be available to download or to stream online. We've got a bit slicker at doing this, hopefully, so it should be up a lot quicker than the last one. And if you've got any more questions, please don't hesitate to email me. We'll be at the IT Showcase event on the 15th of March in Glasgow and the 16th of March in Newcastle. And then in 2 weeks' time, on Tuesday the 22nd and Wednesday the 23rd, I'll be running another couple of webinars that look at change management and how, even if we're not running a BIM project, how we can use the technologies involved in BIM to drive home our point and strengthen our position when we're in negotiations over change. So I look forward to seeing you guys then, and thank you very much for your time.